Revolution.
Hello everyone, I'm back to some portrait recording action. I just thought I'd come off for a bit of a nighttime walk, talk about what's on my mind, things like that. I was watching a couple of truthers that I keep up on, and a lot of the stuff that they talk about I do agree with, you know what I mean, but there's one particular thing that I'll not mention his name because I don't actually have any kind of problems with them per se. Just one of the things that he did mention was he mentioned that how tarot is inherently evil and it's only to do with Satan and nothing else because it was put in the Freemason Bible, King James version of the Bible. You know, only Freemason Bibles are King James versions of the Bible, by the way. So which brings me to sort of like a topic conversation that I'd like to go over, and how that no, not everything is inherently bad or inherently good. And we'll also talk about King James. He was a monarch, King James VI of Scotland, King James I of England, right? And how he was a Freemason, and how he was well, he was what you call it, he was a gay, do you know what I mean, and a paedophile. And we'll get into that because I've been doing a little bit of research on the topic.
Is the King James Bible Masonic? Well, how about I let you answer that question, and I'll give you the information on it. First of all, let's start with the name Bible. Bible is just book, and holy just means sacred. So it just means sacred book. So it's just a collection of writings and letters because somebody decided somewhere that this is the official word of God. Have you ever asked who that person was or who those people were? Where they don't even know who half the authors are? Well, let's talk about King James. Okay, who was King James? Let's just take a minute and look at him. And there's some interesting things that you might want to know about your precious King James. King James, by the way, let's just start off, was a homosexual, pedophile, Freemason. You heard me. Homosexual, pedophile, Freemason. Head of the Scottish Rite Lodge of England. And he said this, his exact words. Are you ready? He said, Jesus had James, and I have George, my lover, so therefore I am justified. And I love George above all other men. He's wearing his little skirt. King James was first had his ass poked, I think, at age 13 into an initiation rite by a 42-year-old man. It's all recorded. You can read about it. And he just liked the experience of it because he went on to fuck all kinds of dudes. He's buried in Westminster Abbey, by the way, between his two gay lovers. That at the end, George was the one that he says, I love George the most. But James, at night, he had to have two men. He liked being in this butt pluck sandwich thing where he was like the Oreo middle center creamy thing deal. God, some sick shit. And he had a tunnel that went up into his bedroom, and every night he had to sleep with two men. You know, that was his thing. But he also liked little boys because he would go on those hunting excursions, you know, the fox hunts and all that kind of stuff with his little boy companions. Very fond of them, by the way. Of course, he went on to marry, you know, and have children, but all that. But he keeps his secret. You know how the Masons are. They have their little gay boy on the side. Now, he's the one who decided he wanted the official word done. And very interesting that this dude, also homosexual, pedophile, Freemason, head of his lodge, Scottish Rite. First had his little rear end poked at age 14 by a 47-year-old man. You can read all about it. And he enjoyed the experience too, going through his initiation rites into the lodge. Went on again to have his male lovers and all that kind of stuff, and he commissioned the entire Bible. But it's written in language backwards from left to right, not right to left. And it's in a language that is based in numerology from Pythagorean. So the whole fucking book is written in Pythagorean numerology. And it's backwardly done. All mafias have two sets of books, okay? All businesses have two sets of books. Anyway, you have your separate set of books. The church is the biggest cash business in the history of everything. And they are allotted tax benefits, and that's why they become 501(33). C3, C is the third letter of the alphabet. 501(33)s are Masonic. Churches are Masonic, the Bible's Masonic. How in the living fuck did they come up with this fucking story? Because it is nowhere near this. Are you fucking kidding me?
And how the Bibles that you have, doesn't matter which iteration they come from, as soon as they're translated from either Hebrew, Aramaic, or Greek, they mess up the translations, so they manipulated the word of God. So it doesn't matter which version of the Bible you have, especially the King James Bible, you know, the choice of Freemasons. And people will argue the toss, saying, oh no, King James couldn't possibly be a Freemason, even though all the Freemasons have King James versions of the Bible, or their version of the King James version. And the iterations and the translations and the meanings for words and so on and so forth that they have within the pages of their King James version of the Bible. But yeah, it just got me thinking where, the typical Christian zealot, that's the stance they take. It's in the King James Bible that you can't go seeking fortune or go and talking to mystics or tarot card readers, or that how tarot card readers are inherently evil. It's like, well, no, that's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. That's not how it works. You see, because this realm that the Most High created, right, is based on duality. Now, I've given examples of duality on other videos before this, but allow me to give you some more explanations of duality. Okay, so you're driving your car, right? You have the accelerator and you have the brake. And duality is all about balance. Everything has to have balance in this realm, right? You can't have one without the other. So you can't have good without evil, evil without good, vice versa, yeah? So you can't drive fast unless you have the ability to reduce the speed. So brake and accelerate, brake. Duality, balance. You can't have one without the other, because if you just have it on full revs without the ability to reduce the speed, then what's going to happen? You're going to smash into something at some point. Or, you know what I mean, unless you're so fucking clever that you can drive at high speeds around twisty turny bends, especially in the UK, because the roads in the UK, a lot of the B roads and things like that, they're like based on cow paths where they just meander and wander, so there's a lot of bends and twists and turns. And you're driving in a car without the ability to brake or to reduce the speed, you're going to have a bad time. Okay, so that's one iteration of duality, right? So heaven and hell, right? You can't have heaven without hell, because not all bad people go to heaven. You know what I mean? They go to either to purgatory if they commit suicide between worlds before they move on to wherever, or they go to hell or Hades, and then from Hades to hell. Hades could potentially be purgatory, depending on which way you want to look at it, right? So good, evil, right, wrong, good, bad, true, false, hot, cold, wet, dry, sun, moon, day, night, light, dark, right? We have all these variables within this realm, and duality is very simple. It's not like some sort of Freemasonic mystic fucking occult, hidden occult knowledge. It's in our everyday life, you know, positive, negative, tick, cross. You know what I mean? It's balance. It's all about balance. So you can't have one without the other. So trying to say that tarot is inherently bad is a lie. And just because it doesn't say so in the Bible, doesn't mean what it says in the Bible is right. Because at the end of the day, Christianity is just a system of control. The Bible is just a system of control. It's to keep you within a framework of a postage stamp consensus. Right?
Do not watch this video unless you want to know the true origins of the Holy Bible. This book has been accepted by billions of people as the very word of God. This is what we've been told since birth, so we blindly accept it. Good thing for you, Ezekiel Mason challenges everything. Let's start with King James. He's the guy that commissioned the Bible that you have today and declared that the authorized version. What most people don't know is that King James was a Freemason. One of his primary goals during his reign was to settle the church, which he was successful in doing. In addition to commissioning the Bible and shaping the church, he also hired William Shaw as his master of work to shape Freemasonry to what it is today. When I speak about Freemasons, I'm not talking about the Masons at your local city lodge. King James was royalty and the monarch of 2 different countries. These are the Freemasons whose agendas shape our lives even to this very day. Let's look at the Freemason logo. Its origins come from the one at the bottom. The logo at the bottom is called the Sigil of Lucifer. You see where I'm going with this? The Sigil of Lucifer also is an exact match to the graph that they use to describe a solar eclipse. Do you find this the least bit peculiar? Armed with the knowledge of the demonic origins of Freemasonry, coupled with the fact that this guy, King James, was a Freemason, Do you still trust that the version authorized by this guy is the very word of God? Their only goal is to deceive you. If you think they have any other goal, then you have been deceived. Take a look at this video detailing who the people in the Bible truly represent.
With the blur of confusing Judases, Thomases, Jameses, Marys, and Josephs found in the Bible, many researchers have been challenged by the Bible's name game and its who's who mysteries. One way of decoding the Bible is to profile the main cast of characters and create a royal genealogy chart. The connection between the lives of the main Bible characters and the lives of real, historical figures line up like answers in a crossword puzzle. Far from being poor and uneducated, Jesus' inner circle of family and disciples were well-educated and well-off descendants of royalty. The disciple called Nicodemus of Bethany was in reality the son of Nicomedes IV of Bithynia. Joseph of Arimathea was in reality Joseph of Judea, an extremely wealthy tin merchant and descendant of King Zedekiah and Mattathias. The Virgin Mary of Bethany was in reality Mary of Bithynia and wife of her rich uncle Joseph of Judea. Mary Magdalene, Jesus of Nazareth, Thomas, and James were the wealthy royal offspring of Hebrew-Egyptian Ptolemy queen Cleopatra VII. Why did the Bible alter and even omit key historical names and dates? To cover up the real Hebrew identities of the royal ruling families of Egypt and the Holy Roman Empire, whose secret religion was and still is the cult of Amun. Why in the world did first-century Jews living at the time of Jesus threaten to punish by death anyone who dared to copy, sculpt, or draw the face of Jesus and his graven image? What were they afraid of? Were they afraid perhaps he might be recognized for who he really was?
You can take from this video whatever you want. For those of you who think your master gave you a book on how to be better than he is, you're sadly mistaken. Before you look to an outside source for your power, discover the power that you have within. Did you know that 1 gram of your dried DNA can store 455 exabytes of data? We're talking about digital media that you can actually see on a screen. For those who don't know, an exabyte is equivalent to 1 billion gigabytes of data. So just 1 gram of your DNA holds 455 billion gigabytes of digital media. That's the definition of a superhero. Your body is capable of things you wouldn't believe. All you have to do is stop believing them.
So just like what it does, what it highlights, right? What it highlights is if someone just took a clip of some random lady giving a tarot reading of predictions of what's coming for the year ahead for this year, saying that there's going to be a high profile crash and so there's going to be a high profile plane crash, things like that. And so he used that as an example, and then, oh, she got it exactly right. Well, not every fucking psychic medium does. You know what I mean? A lot of them are intuitive. So they get a feel of what's going on, so they have some idea. They can't be 100% accurate. Nobody can. Nobody's that fucking good. Only the Most High is that good. And then you can't have like supernatural abilities. Well, so Jesus is satanic then, is he? Because he had supernatural abilities. He had the power of prophecy. He could see into the future. He could see into the past. You know what I mean? He could work miracles, sights and wonders. You know what I mean? Signs and wonders. He could achieve all these things because he was the child of the Most High God. But anybody else, oh no, it's fucking Satan. It's only Jesus can walk on water. Only Jesus has the gift of prophecy, the gift of foresight, the claircognizance, clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience. So, like, when ignorant people say these types of things, you just have to look at them and just, stop trying to be knowledgeable about things you know nothing about. I walk the path of a spiritual path, and the spiritual path is hard. And you need spiritual discernment to know whether someone's possessed or not possessed, or whether someone has malevolent intent or benevolent intent. Duality, malevolent, benevolent. Right? And like, again, as another example, so George Lucas told you in Star Wars, didn't he? You have Jedi and you have Sith. Both use the Force, right? Both wield a lightsaber. One's for the light, one's for the dark. Duality. So, put that example into tarot card readers, right? So, the cards are just tools. It's just merely a tool, right? So you are either a malevolent spirit or a benevolent spirit. You're either pure of heart or black of heart, right? And so, if you're a pure spirit, you'll only let in the highest white light. So you'll only receive the purest information directly from source, because you are a channel, a conduit of the Most High, and He works through you and gives you the messages that you need, because at the end of the day, the Most High is omnipotent. He's everywhere. He's everything everywhere all at once, because He is that powerful, right? And the fact that you can't see past that, or you're so rigid, the rigidity that you have based around a book that is a system of control. I mean, the Catholic Church is basically the Roman Empire, right? The only reason the Church of England exists is because Henry VIII wanted to get divorced on many occasions, right? And then again, you're bashed with that Bible by a border collie wearing a dog collar, giving you his warped version to keep you under the church's thumb, to keep making sure you make contributions and keep them in money, keep them rich, keep them in power. When all along, people in the Vatican, right, are Luciferians, and most of their priests and bishops are all benders anyway. They're all paedophiles and they're all controlled, because you can't attain or achieve or reach the positions that these people have within the Vatican, whether you're a Catholic priest, so on and so on. Doesn't matter what the echelon, the level you reach, you need to be controlled. So they need to have something over on you. And who else? What other societies do that? What other secret societies try to have something over you so they can blackmail you and keep you in check, so you can't speak out and you can't say and speak and tell them of their secrets? And that's what they do with the Vatican. I mean, take the Pope, for instance. Looks a lot like Jonathan Pryce, the British actor or the English actor. You know, looks a lot like him. Probably because it fucking is. But they just have him in a fat suit and parade the silly cunt around.
After I exposed the previous Pope as actor Robert Blake, it took him about a month to step down, which I'll give him at least some credit. That was longer than King Don Juan of Spain and many of the other actors. The current Pope I ID'd as the actor Jonathan Pryce from the UK. So for those of you who are thorough and expect me to give you some proof other than just my word, well, here you go. As you do know, the back of the hand, the vein pattern is unique to every individual. It's used for identification all the time. So we'll take two photographs and compare them. Feel free to do it on your own too. In this image I have here of Jonathan Pryce, the actor from the UK, and this is of course Pope Francis. I want to show you the absolute proof that they are the same person. If we look at the hand here, notice this area right here? There it is right there. It's got a particular vein pops out. We can also see this vein right here moves like that. It's the same vein right here, and the other vein you can barely see, but that's the larger vein over top. So you can see here, especially with this vein that sticks out, it's a very particular vein. I wanted to further show you some more video that I've recently just found that show Jonathan in very good detail, so you can get a better view of his face, his ears, and you can make your own decision.
Development of considerable value, not only to this country, but also to all mankind.
I'm pausing here because I want you to notice his accent, because he loses it later on.
Orgon. O-R-G-O-N-E. And in that way, he identified it, first of all, with things organic, and secondly, with the human orgasm, which was really the root of his original research. That was the thing to which he devoted his life. And he established, after considerable labors, devoted effort.
The other reason why I'm showing you this video is he's part of an acting crew that come out of Arizona. Many of these individuals focus on spiritual issues, ghosts, chemtrails, UFOs, that type of thing. Also, they are flooding the market with fake free energy devices. So I wanted you to see and hear this person talking about this device, which is absolute nonsense, by the way.
Let's go now to the island of Oahu in Hawaii and involve ourselves directly in a real-world operation of a completely new kind, an airborne etheric rain engineering operation. Let's go. This is a brief overview of the stunning potential of airborne etheric rain engineering in Equatoria.
And here are the other popes that I exposed, along with one of the other members of the Vatican Church. And if you have the question about how can Tom Landry coach football on Sunday and be at the Vatican to do the Mass, well, that was a question that we actually called up the Vatican and asked them. And the Pope apparently does not do the Mass on Sunday. He does it on Wednesday. Also, another note about Tom Landry. He did attend seminary school, so if anyone's going to be a pope in that field, it'd be him. But they have him now, of course, being the head of the person translating the Dead Sea Scrolls, which, of course, is more crap that they're going to shove down our throat. So I finally figured out why Pope Francis is so mad at me, and why he was attacking me on his blog. When I exposed Jonathan Pryce as the Pope, I thought that was about it. But after seeing, of course, this constable guy, that opened my eyes up into thinking that he could be other individuals.
And then you've got the White Pope, which is Jonathan Pryce, the actor. Then you have the Grey Pope, and then you have the fucking Black Pope, right? Which is basically fucking mafia, the Italian mafia. And it's all systems of control, right? It's all about power. And what they do is like what Freemasons do, what Eastern Stars do, what Skull and Bones do. They'll have you in a compromising position, or they'll invite you to like a Diddy party, having you doing all this fucking crazy sex and shit like that, right? And then they'll like have you on camera, like violating a chicken, or stuck inside of a fucking horse, or a horse stuck inside of you, deep up your fucking crevice. Do you know what I mean? And you've just allowed yourself to be compromised. And so what they do then is they say, well, if you don't toe the line and do what we say, this is going to go public, it's going to go viral, everyone's going to see all over the world about who you really are. And then they've got you, and then you're not allowed to talk about the things that you're allowed to talk about. And so, which brought me to wanting to talk about King James the First of England, the Sixth of Scotland, because Mary, Queen of Scots, was his mother, I do believe. And not only that, he wrote a whole book about demonology. So there you go. So what I'll do, as I'm like talking, I'll just put in some of the research that I found about the translations from the King James Bible to the, the International Standard, or the English Standard Version. There's the new International Standard Version. There's all these iterations of the Bible where they've all been translated. And all of the word of the so-called God is being manipulated. And I mean, let's face it. When Jesus walked the earth, there was no fucking Bible. There certainly wasn't any New Testament. And it didn't, don't quote me on this, I might have to look this up and put it in the bottom later on. But I don't think anyone started writing anything until about, 70 years after Jesus had been resurrected and taken back up. Do you know what I mean? And then what you've got like second-hand accounts of the apostles, right? And then you have like such as the Vatican, for instance, especially the Vatican. They're all Luciferians. That's why Lucifer's tomb or whatever's within the walls within the city of the Vatican. And then they've been opening portals, not doorways, portals now. You know what I mean? Because they're all Luciferians and aided by the Freemasons, 33rd degree Freemasons. You know, because when you do the first degree, it's you want to seek light. The second degree, you want to seek further light. And then the third degree, you want to seek even more light until you climb all the degrees to the 33rd. And then you realise this light you've been seeking is Lucifer, the light bearer.
Lucifer, what is your problem?
Just that, sir.
Okay.
I'm a Christian, sir.
I'm pure and virtuous and wholesome and innocent. How can you say anything bad about me?
Sir, you need to be born again.
I am born again.
Now, did you just say that you are Lucifer?
I am Lucifer.
Okay, define Lucifer for me.
Pure, virtuous, wholesome, innocent individual that's out to help people.
Lucifer is?
Yeah.
Say that again. Lucifer is a pure, holy,
virtuous.
Now, is he the Lucifer that God created?
That's the same one.
Oh, man, this is great. I'm going to put this on the internet.
Oh,
Amen.
God bless you,
Amen.
brother.
Because that's exactly what the Shriners and Masons teach, is that Lucifer is light.
No.
And you're
What about those
confirming
hospitals?
You know what, sir? Jesus said, many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not do these good deeds in your name? And you'll say, away from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you.
Jesus said it?
In Matthew chapter 5.
Mercy.
No.
That's hard to believe.
So you're a Christian and you don't know that. Actually.
No, I really am.
You are.
Because I'm pure and virtuous.
You're pure and virtuous, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In other words, you're perfect without Jesus.
You enter the Masonic Lodge and take the first introductory pledges. First of all, they blindfold you. They put a noose around your neck. They bare your left chest. You roll up your left pants leg. Take off your left shoe. Kneel before the altar. And, of course, then you take these horrible oaths where you swear if you ever reveal anything that you have heard, why in the first degree, why they tear out your tongue, cut your throat, bury you in the sands of the sea up to the level of your neck at low tide, so when the tide comes in, you're dead if you're not already dead. Second degree, of course, they cut out your entrails and burn them and feed them to the birds of the air. Third degree, they cut out your heart. I mean, it's by the fourth degree, things are really pretty bad. Adult men swear these oaths, but what you have to understand is that as you're kneeling blindfolded before the altar, before a Bible, the Holy Bible, the worshipful master asks you, what do you desire? And you are told to answer the light. You have no idea what the light is, but you answer the light. In the second degree, you're told to ask for more light. And the third degree, you want even more light. Many of you here, I suspect, are born-again Christians, and many of you have prayed the sinner's prayer, and when you pray the sinner's prayer, something happens. Your life changes forevermore. I know this happened to me, and it's happened to many people, but when the Mason swears this oath, something happens to him too. For he has requested the light to come in and dominate his life. Now this is Albert Pike, the leading Masonic philosopher of the last century, and in his book Morals and Dogma, which was given to every Mason who advanced through the degrees up until 1974, this was the Masonic Bible. And what Pike wrote on page 104, Masonry conceals its secrets from all except the adepts and the sages of the elect, and uses false explanations and misinterpretations of its symbols to mislead those who deserve to be misled, to conceal the truth which it calls light from them, and to draw them away from it. In other words, you ask for the light, but we're not going to let you know what the light is. On page 819, the blue degrees are about the outer court of the portico of the temple. Part of the symbols are displayed for the initiate, but he is intentionally misled by false interpretation. It is not intended that he shall understand them, for it is intended that he shall imagine he understands them. Their true explication is reserved for the adepts and the princes of Masonry. He goes on to tell us that on page 722, if you desire to gain admission to the sanctuary, we have said enough to show you the way. And if you do not, it's useless for us to say more, as it has been useless for us to say so much. On page 781, he tells you, if you reflect, my brother, you will no doubt suspect that some secret meaning was concealed in these words. But what's the secret meaning? On page 219, the right raises the corner of the veil even in the degree of apprentice, for there declares that masonry is a worship. So what are they worshiping? Well, on pages 839 and 840 of Morals and Dogma, and I'm just going to take the bottom paragraph because this is the important one. It was the remembrance of this scientific and religious absolute. The absolute is capitalized, reflecting deity. Of this doctrine that is summed up in a word of this word, capital W, deity. In fine, alternately lost and found again, that was transmitted to the elect of all ancient initiations. It was this same remembrance preserved, or perhaps profaned, in the celebrated Order of the Templars, that became for all secret associations of the Rosy Cross, that's the Rosicrucians, of the Illuminati, and of the Hermetic Freemasons, the reason of their strange rites, of their signs more or less conventional, and above all, of their mutual devotedness and of their power. In other words, if you get into these things, you will get power. Power that you cannot believe, and you will have great wealth. But at what cost? Well, when I went through Professor Quigley's papers, and of course we found the interview with him that we've already discussed, and if you get the interview, you'll actually hear him talking about these crazy right-wingers who come to him, and they show him that symbol, and they tell him that's the symbol of the Illuminati. And he says, that's not the symbol of the Illuminati. That's been around for 5,000 years. That's the symbol of the mystery religions of antiquity, and that's what it really is. This is the symbol of the mystery religions of Persia and Babylon and Egypt. This goes back to the ancient pagan religions, which are the basis of all modern-day secret societies. And every single one of them ties into this. Now, you recall that we were talking about the Knights Templar. What were the Knights Templar? They were a religious order that in the about 1,000, 1,100 went on the Crusades, and they were to guard the temple where once it stood Solomon's Temple, Temple Square, where today the Great Mosque of Al-Mar is. But there, of course, they came in contact with people who were part of the mystery religions. And they came back to Europe in the 1200s. They became the most significant financial force in Europe. They became the bankers of Europe. And using a fractional reserve banking system, all of the monarchies of Europe became indebted to them, just as governments today spend more than they have. So in those days, they spent more than they had, and the Templars dominated what was going on. But, of course, then it was discovered that the Templars were Luciferian, and Jacques de Molay, their leader, was burned at the stake in the early 1300s. Of course, today, the young people who are sons of Masons belong to the de Molays, as did Bill Clinton. Let me read again that final statement on page 840 of Morals and Dogma. It was the remembrance of this scientific and religious absolute, of this doctrine that is summed up in a word, of this word, and fine, alternately lost and found again, that was transmitted to the elect of all ancient initiation. It was this same remembrance preserved, or perhaps profaned, in the celebrated Order of the Templars that became, for all the secret associations of the Rosy Cross, of the Illuminati, of the Hermetic Freemasons, the reason for their strange rites, and of their signs more or less conventional, and above all of their mutual devotedness and of their power. What is it about? Well, on page 321 of Morals and Dogma, Pike lays it right out. Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning, is it he who bears the light, and with its splendors intolerable, blinds feeble, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not. Why, it's simply Luciferianism. If you read Manly P. Hall's book, The Lost Keys of Freemasonry, he's very, very clear what it's about. When the Mason learns that the key to the warrior on the block is the proper application of the dynamo of living power, he has learned the mystery of his craft. The seething energies of Lucifer are in his hands. That's what it's all about. It's Luciferianism, and manifested in every aspect of our society today. Little wonder they want to take God out of our schools. In a book called Spiritual Politics, written by Corrine McLaughlin and Gordon Davidson, a very important book written by people who are involved in the occult, they will explain to you what it's really all about. J.P. Morgan, the great banker, of course, was into astrology. He said his astrology told him how to make his investments, to make all of his money. Henry Ford was involved in the occult. Andrew Carnegie was involved in the occult. And Colonel House, the man who was able to control Clemenceau in Orlando and Woodrow Wilson and FDR, and able to go in the room and talk to people, and of course convince them to take up his ideas. The man who was so intent upon having communism survive when others wanted to do away with it, he was one of the leaders of the occult movement. And of course this is why he left a copy of the protocols for those in the future to uncover. And so we begin to see these patterns unfolding. Let me read again what Manly P. Hall said, because this is so important. When the Mason learns the key to the warrior on the block is the proper application of the dynamo of living power, he has learned the mystery of his craft. The seething energies of Lucifer are in his hands. You can read the book of Revelation by Barbara Marx Hubbard. The original manuscript was actually been somewhat altered. This book you can get at bookstores today. It tells about the coming horror that is going to occur in the mass extermination of people. This book was published by the Lawrence Rockefeller Fund for the Enhancement of the Humanities. But in the original text, which we have, she says this. Now, this book is channeled to her, and she readily admits that, by what she calls the Christ light, but I believe is the demonic spirit. And she is rewriting the book of Revelation so you, if you are an occultist, can understand it. She quotes Revelation 6:8, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over a fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and the beasts of the earth. And then she goes on to say, out of the full spectrum of human personality, 1/4 is electing to transcend with all their heart, mind, and spirit. 1/4, however, is resistant to election. They were attracted by life ever evolving.
And then you find out that Lucifer is your god. So which god are they actually talking about in the Bible? You know what I mean? Especially the King James Bible. And let's not forget, King James banned the Geneva Bible, because especially Ephesians 6, chapter 12 or verse 12, something like that, where we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. You know, as it's going, but like within the Geneva Bible, it has more. It tells you about governments involved as well. Well, you know, King James felt threatened by that, and so he did his own translation again. And you think these scholars weren't Freemasons who were translating from Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek into English to be able to use it as manipulation?
Let's look at Ephesians 6:12 in the Geneva Bible. King James' distaste for the Geneva Bible was not caused by the translation of the text into English, but rather the annotations in the margins. He felt strongly many of the annotations were very partial, untrue, seditious, and savoring too much of dangerous and traitorous conceits. The Geneva Bible remained the most popular text for personal use even after the publication of the new official translation commissioned by King James in 1611. In frustration, James finally outlawed the Geneva Bible in 1616. For the most part, Ephesians 6 is very similar to what we are used to seeing in the translations today, with one big difference. In the King James, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Now let's look at it in the Geneva Bible. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, and against the worldly governors, the princes of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness which are in the high places. Is this saying the worldly governors are the princes of darkness of this world? Or is this saying the worldly governors is one entity we battle and the princes of darkness of this world is another? Let me know in the comments what you think.
And like everyone bangs on about the Bible, Right? Now, I'm not telling you not to read the Bible. I'm not telling you not to read the Bible. I'm just telling you to be wary about what you actually think it is. Because it's all part of a system of control. And if you're still bound by that postage stamp consensus, that small-minded framework, then you're still contained within the matrix and you're truly free. Because, God is within us all. No, I'm not talking about fucking Freemason doctrine where we can be all gods. No. We are all one consciousness, observing each other subjectively, and we're all connected to Source. And the only people who preach and sow division are the fallen. They're the ones who talk in separate. They're the ones who always try to sow division. When we're all one in unity, connected to the Most High, and that's how He moves through us, and that's how some are selected to be a channel for the Most High. And the tarot cards are merely a tool. Any psychic medium or any seer or any type of prophet doesn't need the cards. It's just for show at the end of the day. But there are those, as I say, with a malevolent spirit, a black heart, who will manipulate the cards to paint an incorrect picture. Where those of pure heart are just simply getting the message out directly from Source to help you as a guide, to let you decide on which choice you have to make. Because at the end of the day, it's all about choice, causality, cause and effect, action, reaction. It's all about balance, duality, and you have free will to make whichever choice you want. But some readers are just there as a guide. You can either take the information that they're giving you or leave it. You're not being forced to the floor with a gun to your fucking head. Right? So no, psychic mediums are not all inherently good or inherently bad. You have to have balance. Everything has balance. This realm is just a school to learn from past mistakes, to seek knowledge, to seek wisdom, and ascend and move on. Because this isn't it all. This isn't the end. This is just a school. Right? But what I'm going to do is just shove in some clips here and there of what I've been talking about, such as like the Masonic Bible.
Which, as near as I can tell, it's a King James version. We don't have more. No. Yeah, Mason Bible. Totally demonic. Well, for Masonic use. So they've got alternate definitions of words. But what really shocked me the first time I picked this up, sun god, Ra, Amen, the Father of God, the Creator, published in the Freemason Bible, which, as near as I can tell, it's a King James version. People like Jordan Maxwell and the woman who made Ring of Power, they try and mix up language and they say, oh, well, when you say Amen at the end of a prayer, you're really, this is who you're saying your prayer to, Amen Ra. Well, that's a lie. No, Amen is Hebrew for so be it, or it is so.
So be it, or something like that. I think
it's so be it. It's Hebrew. Talk to anyone who's Hebrew and say, what does Amen mean? And they'll say, well, it is so. And that's the truth. That's why we say Amen at the end of a prayer, because it's Hebrew for so be it. I think it's so be it. But these liars are trying to convince everyone that you're praying to Amun-Ra, the sun god. That's the mystery religions. They mix in all these lies and pagan sun worshipping, trying to corrupt and pervert everything.
So the Christian halo comes from these.
Yeah, I know, yeah. The halo never appeared.
Never in the Bible says anything about anything like that.
Until the 4th, yeah. And so we've got all this Babylonian crap mixed in here. And these are, there's an obelisk Well, that was Osiris's penis. That's
worship for fertility.
Phallic worship. Yeah, and the Washington Monument, it's an Egyptian obelisk. There's one at the middle of St. Peter's Square in the Vatican. There's another one in the middle of the city of London. These Egyptian obelisks, what are they doing all over the planet?
The Oval Office is actually a female genitalia. Yeah. And the steeple is actually penetrating it. If you look at it from a certain angle, it's a steeple penetrating the Oval Office, which is a female.
You just need to watch Christian J. Pinto's are about the history and blah, blah, blah. But then you flip to the back, and there's all this Egyptian, Babylonian account of the building of the walls and temples of Babylon.
I think it's interesting that Saddam Hussein actually believed that he was Nebuchadnezzar. He thought he was a reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar. There's even a statue in Iraq that says that. See how he's bigger than all the others? It's because he's the god, and they're the people who are worshiping the giant Nephilim gods from back in the day.
These are given to initiated when they're reborn. Okay. Now this belonged to Brother Edward Black. Was initiated November 10th, 36. He passed and then was raised. And when you're raised, you're reborn. That was 1936. This guy was initiated. And then these are all the lodge numbers of visiting brethren and friends. Lodge number 231, 669, and the names of the lodges and the numbers of the lodges. And this is the guy who raised them, fellow candidates. I guess that's witnesses, I don't know. But these are supposed to be returned upon death. And I guess what happened was that this guy passed away, and whoever was handling his estate just dropped off a bunch of books at the used bookstore, not realizing that this was contained within and the significance of it. So I'm not supposed to have this, but the person at the used bookstore knew it would be appreciated and set it aside. And it's got the compass and square right on the front. It's blue. It's got a blue cover, and it's got the compass and square right on the front. It says Freemasonic Bible. That's what it says. This is copyrighted 1928. And it opens up with the Holy Bible in Freemasonry and explains, they try and justify or convince the unsuspecting Mason that, I think the first degree, when you're doing the ceremony, you're asked, what do you seek? Light. And then the second degree, it's what do you seek? More light. And then the third degree, what do you seek? Further light. And they rise up through the degrees. Now, Stan Monteith does a great presentation called The Hidden Secret. And the hidden secret, which is revealed at the 33rd degree, is that the light you've been seeking all of this time is the light of the light bearer, Lucifer. The Ralph Epperson presentation, the second witness to the apocalypse, goes into all this in great detail with the quotes directly from Manly P. Hall and Albert Pike. It explains how all Masons swear an oath to destroy Christianity at all costs, regardless of whether you have to murder, lie, steal, doesn't matter. Everything is justified. Here we get into page 7, and they're explaining how the Bible became a great light. See, they use this term, light, light, great light, all the way through, and the hidden secret, which is not revealed until the 33rd degree, is what the light really is. Yeah. So we get into the story of the English Bible, and there's all this stuff prefacing the actual beginning of the Bible. King Solomon's temple. It's all very startling. I'm trying to be careful because it's a Masonic Bible. Okay, the construction of the temple, they're getting into Solomon's temple. Masonic ritual. Okay, we're on page 31. And then we get page 33. The Holy Bible starts on page 33. Could that be a coincidence? What's the significance of 33? The Holy Bible starts on the 33rd page of the Masonic Bible. Pretty demonic, isn't it? And I haven't gone through it in great detail. It appears to be a King James version. But then you flip to the back, and there's all this Egyptian, Babylonian symbols and how it relates to the content of the book. And seals, hieroglyphs that are taken off seals. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, this Babylonian shit has nothing to do with this book. This is like, I put it down and went, oh, this is bad. Yeah.
Right. And how people mistake Amen for Amun-Ra, when actually in Hebrew, Amen actually translates as and so it is, or so be it, or something of that translation. But there's, you know what I mean, there's a lot of discrepancies around what it actually means or who you're saying amen to. I've had one witch that I have nothing to do with now because I realise she is a witch. She's very irritating, like a woman heavily in a masculine energy, thinking she can square up to men. Like, you have to be some sort of like cabbage to think you can square up to a man, especially someone like an Alpha or a Sigma. You're just going to be, you know, shown that that's not the case. But never mind. Yeah, she was a Bruja, she was a witch, and she was there to deceive. But anyway, yeah, and as I say, malevolent spirit, black heart, not benevolent. Benevolent only there as a guide to give you advice. Don't have to take that advice. And you can just watch events play out and see if the advice you've given was correct or not, based on your choices. And if you take the advice and do as you say and remain obedient to the Most High God, then things will check out. But yeah, so I've got like video clips of a guy who has a Masonic Bible, which is a King James version of the Bible. All Masonic Bibles are King James versions, but King James the First wasn't a Freemason. Okay, and like as I say, as I've been talking, I might include them within what I've been saying as I'm talking, when I'm talking. But yeah, and then we have like sort of like other clips, like how like I've already talked about that, the translations of the Bible, and then giving you the correct Greek translations from Greek into English, things like that, and highlights for the different versions of the Bible, what they're saying, what the actual translation really means. Just clips like that, and just like about King James the First and his background, and you know, I mean, even Shakespeare. That he's just a myth. Sir Francis Bacon was part of a secret society called Spear Shakers, the Spear Shakers. Or a play on words, Shakespeare. So it was just a group of people writing books and plays, and then they created this identity, this fake identity of the name of Shakespeare.
Satan ruled the world, and he had a unified language. What language would everyone speak? That's right, English. Did you know that English is a Germanically derived, occult-influenced language? Why do you think our language is called spelling? Other languages do not derive their vocabulary words from witchcraft terms. The words in the English language were crafted by known occultists, like Sir Francis Bacon, whom you may not have heard of, but you probably heard of his secret writing group called the Spear Shakers, or should I say Shakespeare? Yeah, William Shakespeare was not a real person. And we know that because the writing styles in his different stories are drastically different. William Shakespeare is responsible for introducing 1,700 words into our vocabulary. William Shakespeare was not a real person. He was a group of individuals ran by Sir Francis Bacon, a known occultist, who had an agenda He had an agenda to normalize witchcraft into our everyday speech. Speaking of normalizing things, what do you think Hollywood is? Hollywood is the wood that witches and wizards use to craft their wands and staves out of. It's a derivative of Hollywood. Yeah, Hollywood. It's an extension of witchcraft. And to this day, it continues to craft our language even further.
The Hollywood viewing point is marked with a blood drop. And people still think it's a conspiracy.
And so, and like we all know, our history is manipulated. You know what I mean? Turns out the Dark Ages weren't actually that dark. And like the Library of Alexandria, the information contained within that library didn't burn. You know what I mean? We just are told a version of history written by the winners, who have like conquered, raped and plundered and pillaged and things like that. And so I just thought I would get on and talk about that, about the Bible, and that it's not the solemn gospel, and like you'll get all these diehards will be affronted, but it's still the truth. What I'm telling you is the truth. I'm giving you facts. The Bible is a system of control to keep you under the thumb of the church. The Catholic Church is nothing but the Roman Empire, right? Like the Church of England, the only reason the Church of England exists is because Henry VIII wanted to get a divorce. So he separated himself from the Catholic Church, from the, you know what I mean, from Rome. And how Rome, the business square mile of London, and Washington DC, the District of Columbia, are all separate from state.
There's 3 cities in the world that run the show. DC, Washington, just a square mile, a couple of square miles. City of London, where the Temple Bar is. The Temple Bar is in there. That is the only piece of land in the world that is over and above the Vatican. Remember that? That's in the City of London. It has to be, because this is the inner temple. This is the New Jerusalem. That's why they sing the song about New Jerusalem, the most popular song in the British Commonwealth, isn't it? Because they created the New Jerusalem. They were given the New Jerusalem. There it is, in the City of London. The middle temple, the inner temple, and that's the outer temple, based on that system that the Templars brought back from Jerusalem. It's a system of slavery, because the ones who are in the outer temple, they are the Gentiles, or the Goyim, or the scum of the earth. They're the ones that get taught exoteric religion. For instance, that Jesus Christ is pure history. When they were teaching Jesus Christ 2,000 years, 3,000, 4,000, who knows how many thousand years in India as Krishna, his name was Yes Krishna, they made it up. The Romans did that, the Julian family did that, and the Piso family. This is one of the richest of these families. They invented the whole historical thing and put it into the Bible so that it would appear to be history, so that they could keep people in the outer temple and then enslave them. This is the New Jerusalem, guys.
And they all have their own laws, especially the Square Business Mile in London. They actually have a different police force with a different colour. I think they like it's like a pink and white checkers, right? And they only deal in corporate law, not common law. And even the King of England has to ask permission to enter the Square Business Mile of London. And all this can be found out. It's all there. You can go to the Business Square Mile. You can approach a police officer, and he will basically tell you as much, that it's all based on corporate law, and you cannot, corporate law cannot interact with a living human man or woman, right? You have to be classed as a dead entity. That's why you have a national insurance number, social security number, and a birth certificate, right? And so when you receive a summons from court, you'll receive your name in capital letters because you're classed as dead. You're the straw man, a legal fiction. They have to create a legal fiction and paint you as dead. And so if you acknowledge you're a person, then you acknowledge in the court of law that you're a dead man, and you've been summoned from the dead to the court, and you enter in the chamber and play a part of their legal fiction. But if you understand corporate law and common law, that you are not a person, you are a living human man or a living human woman. You know what I mean? And you are not part of their corporation, part of their legal fiction, part of their straw man fantasy. But that's something else I might slip in there as well.
Ah, the government. It loves you and wants to keep you safe and well. It even wants to make paying taxes, fines, and court costs easier for you. How? Well, you'll need to meet your straw man. He was born the same day you were. He looks like you, has the same name, and lives in your house, but you never knew he existed. You will have even paid his parking tickets or taxes. The worst part? He's been dead from day one. From every birth certificate, a legal personality, or legal fiction, is created with the same name to confuse little old you into thinking it's you. So, there is a human you and a paper you, or as it's commonly known, a straw man. So when it seems like government officials, court clerks, or the police are speaking English, they aren't. They're speaking legalese, designed to make you agree to verbal and written contracts without even knowing about it, all spun from Black's Law Dictionary. For example, when the police say, "Do you understand?" you'll say, "Yes." What they are really saying is, "Do you stand under our authority?" Oops-a-daisy, you just created a verbal contract with them. Oh, you clever government. Did you know that whenever you register something, you are handing over title to the person you register it with? That's right. Whenever you register something with the government, they assume it belongs to them. Registered your car? Super! Now you are the registered keeper of your vehicle, and the government can crush it when you don't pay your, straw man's taxes. Expecting a new bundle of joy? Well, then you need to register your little darling with a birth certificate. Then they can start the process all over again and create a new straw man for your little one. Isn't that great? So when Junior grows up, he'll be able to generate revenue just like you have. When you notify on your baby by signing the birth certificate, your child becomes a ward of state, and if the government doesn't like what you're doing, they'll assume it's okay to take the child away, or make new rules for things they don't like. Not enough school? Smacking your child? Shouting too loudly? Then it's off to social services for the little one. When you get a bill, it's sent to you, but belongs to your straw man, not you. That's why bills, fines, and summons start with Mr., Mrs., or Ms. Sometimes you'll see your surname in capitals, just like on a gravestone. That's because your straw man is dead, and just a silly piece of paper, created before you could comprehend or even consent to it. When you go to court, you represent your straw man, so you, the human, take on any costs, fees, taxes, and fines involved for the straw man. The human you doesn't even need to pay them. But you made a contract with the court by appearing on behalf of your legal personality or straw man, just like the government knew you would. Confused? Well, don't worry. The government doesn't want you to know anyway. If you knew, you'd stop paying things like council tax and parking tickets. Because when you go to court, you are representing your straw man. You are you, alive and made of flesh and blood. Your straw man, or legal personality, is a piece of paper created from your birth certificate. And you think it's you. What a silly Billy.
This is a very brief presentation as to why you are not a person. To understand how it all works, you first need to understand how contracts work. So a living man or a living woman can contract with another living man or a living woman. A corporation can contract with another corporation. A corporation cannot contract with a living man or a living woman, or vice versa. The government, which is formed of the Crown, the UK, the City of London, the police, social services, they're all profit-making corporations. So how is this corporation telling living men and women what to do? The way they do it is they set up what's called a legal fiction. So when you were born, unbeknownst to your parents, they registered your birth. So Joanne of the family Bloggs, who is the living woman or living baby at that time, became Miss Joanne Bloggs, surname in capitals, a corporation. That is a person. In 1862, the definition of person was changed to mean corporation. It's part of the legalese trickery. So now, the government, the corporation, can now contract with the legal fiction corporation of Joanne Bloggs, in capitals, the person. If you look at letters, fines, etc. that come through the post, you'll see there'll be different variants, but some or all of your name will be in capitals. Those are the various corporations that are set up in your name in order for the government to contract with you. So in order to contract with you, they impose rules, licenses, fines, bills, taxes, regulations. They are all contracts between the corporation of the government and the corporation of your legal fiction. For a contract to be valid, there are certain rules that need to be abided by. Firstly, the parties must be competent to contract, so they must be of the age of consent, they must be mentally able, and they must be free to contract between legal or lawful entities. There must be free and genuine consent, so that consent has not been obtained by fraud, deceit, coercion or mistake. There must be full disclosure, providing all material information that may influence the decision on both parties' behalves. There must be valuable consideration, so something of value needs to exchange between both parties. There needs to be certainty of terms. Those terms and conditions are fixed and they're unable to be changed without agreement. There must be a meeting of minds, so when those parties recognise and comprehend their obligations. There must be signatures or autographs in wet ink as recorded evidence of reciprocal consent. If the contract is between a living man or a living woman and another living man or living woman, then it's an autograph. If a person is signing on behalf of their legal fiction, it's a signature. And there must be privity of contract, so that contract cannot be sold on to a third party. So there you have it. You, as the living soul, are not your legal fiction. You are not a person. However, you act on behalf of your legal fiction. So you choose what contracts you want to enter into. In common law, the laws are simple. You cause no harm, loss or injury to another living soul or their property. There's no threat of harm, loss or injury, and you're honourable in all your dealings. So let's look at the definition of crime. It is defined as an act committed in violation of a law. It's unlawful activity, and it's a serious offence. So if you've forgotten to get insurance on your car, or you've forgotten to sawn it and you get sent a fine, who have you caused harm, loss or injury to? It's not actually breaking a law, it's breaking a rule. Those rules only apply to persons. If you look at every single piece of legislation that's been issued by the government, by Parliament, it only applies to person. You will not find the word man or woman in there, because they cannot impose it on living souls. So think to yourself, where is the victim? So your legal fiction becomes a member of the Society of the UK Corporation. So you have to follow the rules of that society. Well, your legal fiction does. Let's look at this with a different perspective. You have a Tesco club card, for example. as a club card holder, you are a member of the Society of Club Card Holders. So Tesco's have just announced that they've come up with a new rule. You can only eat on a Wednesday if you eat in a Tesco's cafe. You have a club card. Their board has scrutinised and ratified the rule, so you've got to do what they say. Do you? No, you're not your club card. By the same token, you are not your legal fiction. However, you can't just ignore something that's been imposed on you. If you don't respond, i.e. if you exercise your right to silence, which is another trick, by the way, it's considered tacit acceptance. You must rebut. You have to state that what they're saying is not true. So if you need to rebut face to face, so say for example, a police officer is trying to impose a fine on you, that fine is an invitation to contract. That's how you have to look at it. So all you say is, I do not consent. I do not wish to contract with you. I do not answer questions. You need to stick to the script because legalese has taken so many of the common English words and turned them against us in order to trip and trap us. So for example, the police officer will say to you, do you understand? And that means, do you agree to stand under my authority? You would think to yourself, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And so you say, yes. You've just contracted. You've just done what's called create joinder. You don't want to do that. So stick to the script. I do not consent. I do not wish to contract with you. I do not answer questions. That is your rebuttal, face to face. If you get something in the post, again, you need to rebut it. Do it in writing. Respond within 3 days. And you can rebut with conditional acceptance, which pretty much says, okay, you want to fine me £90 for parking in the wrong place. Prove to me that we had a contract, that I agreed to the terms of that contract. Prove to me that me, as a living man or a living woman, am liable, because actually they're fining your legal fiction, not you. So don't let the corporations grey the simple understanding of the law. Everything other than common law is contract. Of course, if you do actually break a law and create a victim, so you do cause harm, loss or injury or threat to another living man or woman, then you are breaking the law and they are able to deal with you in that way. But everything else, that is contract. Thank you for listening.
But yeah, so I probably throughout, I'm just going to throw in a few different bits of videos in between, edited in between, just to like show you what I've been researching, how people who just automatically assume tarot is bad, you need to educate yourself. It's very spiritual. You are connecting. If you're a benevolent spirit with a pure heart, you're only channeling from source, from the highest white light. But if you're malevolent and you have, a black heart and you're just here to deceive, then yes. So in answer to this person's question, yes, it can. But no, it can't. Like those surveys you get where, like, do you strongly agree, somewhat agree, mildly agree, neutral, or strongly disagree, or, mildly disagree, somewhat disagree, things like that. So, so no, tarot cards are not inherently good or evil, but you can have people wielding those cards that they use as a tool. Individuals can be inherently evil. Yes, they can be Luciferians. Yes, they could be fucking deceiving you. Yes, they could be like hexing you and attaching whatever sort of spirits to you. Yes, if you dabble in that area, you know what I mean? If you're dabbling in the dark arts and you're wielding tarot cards to divinate for your own gratification, not for the benefit of mankind, then yes, but not always. Like Star Wars, Jedi and Sith, both wield the Force, both use the Force, both wield lightsabers, but one was for the light and one was for the dark, and that's when you get the grey Jedi that's in between. You know what I mean? Because there's levels to it. You know what I mean? It's not just inherently one thing or the other. Did you know that the Bible can be used for evil? Did you know that the Book of Psalms can be used for spell work? Because, you know, words cast spells, and you can either use those words for positive or negative intent. You know, benevolent or malevolent. So benevolence or malevolence. It's just the rule of this realm. Everything has to have balance. So yes, you can use the Bible for good, but you can also use it for evil. And I know, because I'm like balls deep in between finding out that my family isn't my actual family and they're all witches and warlocks that are attached to secret societies, and I've got Freemasons and dark high priestess at the highest levels trying to use spell work to remove me, because I'm here to answer the call. I'm here to get on my spiritual path. But that's all I'm going to share with you, because, you know, this is biblical. We haven't even begun to move into the Great Tribulation, and that will be a period of 7 years, and we're not even there yet. I mean, we have to have like the predictions from Deagle. Oh, that's something else that I'll need to discuss. So there's this website called Deagle.com, and basically for the Western world, it said on this year 2025, by the end of it, the population of the Western countries will have halved, or less than half. We're talking about, like, well, I don't know the exact figures, but the website got deleted around about 2020 or 2021 at the height of COVID. But when you go on the Wayback Machine, it'll take you to a point in time where it was still up and you can gather the numbers. Well, let's just say at one point you were able to do that. But I think they've been cleansing it, because, you know, you've got people in these alphabet agencies who are able to, like, clean the net, the web, the interweb, the World Wide Web, and remove things permanently. Or they've now found a way to do that, or they've always been able to do it. One of the two. But yeah, Deagle.com, it tells you about how many people, and we're talking, like, you know, especially England and America, well, the United Kingdom and America, huge losses. There's going to be around about 9 million people lost in Canada, same Australia, New Zealand. You know what I mean? Europe's going to suffer badly. There's going to be massive casualties, and I'll put a clipping of that in the video.
Okay guys, I'm going to show you how to get onto this website and check things out for yourself. The website is called Deagle.com. This is a website where it gives you a forecast for all the countries in the world, for the numbers for 2025. So these numbers were published in 2017, and they give you a forecast numbers for population, as well as other numbers like GDP for 2025. Now, going down this list, you can see the population. The black is the 2017 number, and the one above it, either red or green, is what they're forecasting for 2025. So you can see China, not much difference, 1.38 billion down to 1.35 billion, which is fine, not too much of a difference. India is actually going up from 1.28 billion to 1.34 billion. So you think, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But the interesting thing here is the United States of America. Look at this. 326 million in 2017, and they're expecting it to drop to 99 million by 2025. I mean, come on, that is unbelievable. And how they are publishing these numbers and these forecasts, if you don't have eyes to see what they have planned for us, then I don't know what to tell you. But they're actually publishing the numbers, and this is how they're doing it right in our faces. You can see South American countries or Middle East or Asian countries are pretty much the same. A forecast for 2025, not much difference. But suddenly we go down to Europe. You see Italy, 62 million down to 48 million or 43 million. France, 67 down to 38. Canada, 35 to 26. And let's go down to Australia. Australia, 23 million down to 15 million. Okay. and we go to, let's have a look at the UK. So here we are for United Kingdom down here, 65 million down to 14 million. This is unbelievable, guys. Whether they're ramping up the 5G, they're telling us something. They've been telling us something for a few years now, and people who haven't done their research, then they have their own selves to blame. These mandatory vaccines and the rollout of 5G, they're telling us is going to depopulate the world, and if you don't have eyes to see, then I don't know what to tell you. So go onto this website yourself, check the numbers yourself. It's unbelievable how European countries are going to be suffering the most, whereas other countries are literally, even Ethiopia, you can see 105 down to 100. It's not too bad, but European countries are going to take the most of the blunt here. So check it out for yourself. Okay guys, take care and God bless you all in Jesus' name.
The Deagle Corporation is a military contractor having close ties to U.S. military intelligence, which collects data for high-level decision makers, including agencies like the National Security Agency. In 2014, Deagle released a confidential report forecasting massive population declines out to the year 2025, especially in Western countries, including the U.S. Countries like the UK and Germany would likewise see similar drastic decreases in population. The study mysteriously disappeared from Deagle's website in March 2021. Was the report conjecture, speculation, or just someone wanting some kind of reaction? But at the very least, the obtained 2014 report from Deagle should be examined. If the Deagle calculations turn out to be even close to correct, the most unsafe places to reside over the next 3 years will be the US and the UK, followed by Germany and then the rest of the EU nations. These stark predictions have taken on even more serious meaning with the recent COVID worldwide pandemic, other predicted even worse pandemics coming, global food famines, food shortages, the threat of nuclear war, weather modification technology, and other disaster situations occurring around the world. Are the intelligence agencies and others fully aware of worsening things coming soon by the end of 2025? Would they want to even tell us about some of them? Deagle's population prediction seemed so out there in 2014 that some people accused Deagle of engaging in a psyop. But perhaps Deagle had good sources to back up its analysis. Unfortunately, too, the world is seeing a growing population reduction movement that believes there are too many people that are using up the Earth's resources and causing the further destruction of the Earth through climate change. Craig Party-Cooper is a researcher at Kingston University. He took the deleted Deagle.com study from 2014 and was able to find it still archived and available for analysis. Party-Cooper calculated the percentage population reductions for each country based on the difference between the current population and the 2025 Deagle forecast. This way, he was able to rank sort each country in order of the largest population reduction. You can see how countries ranked, including the U.S. and other alarming forecasts. Party-Cooper has often been criticized, though, for saying the main culprit in the numbers could be some batches of COVID-19 vaccines and their long-term effects on humans. According to its own website, Deagle provides news and information on international military aviation and advanced technologies. Although they show articles from 2003, little is known about their real owners. In their obtained 2014 study, Deagle apparently predicted a massive 50 to 80% global depopulation by 2025. While some experts refuse to say the organization legitimately exists, WikiLeaks documents reveal that it was legitimately used as reference material in a Stratfor report on technological capabilities of North Korea. So it does appear that Deagle provides information used by global intelligence communities and governments. The Deagle website seems to have no conflict of interest in their forecasts. The site simply analyzes which budgets will be allocated to which markets to purchase military aircraft. These forecasts are based on the reconciliation of various publicly available reports from agencies such as the CIA, IMF, and the UN. Forecasts of population growth or decline, military spending, and purchasing power parity across countries around the world have always fluctuated. Also, one other Deagle prediction has not changed at all since 2015, is that China will be the largest economy in the world after 2025. If you believe Deagle's 2014 population prediction could be really true before they were taken down, then you won't like their bleak prospects for the U.S. in the years to come. This includes a 70.2% decline in its population by 2025. So if Deagle made their population predictions in 2014 and now are trying to conceal the report, we should all be curious about what is going on here. Apparently, a Deagle Corporation spokesperson has come out and said their 2014 website was hacked, thus leading to the skewed population data on America. This is H.A. Graves.
But I just thought I'd come on and talk about something else for change, because those fools that I'm dealing with, they're finished. Most of them have died now with AIDS anyway, like I said they would, like I predicted, and it turned out to be true. Now they die in a slow, painful, horrible death, like I said they would. But they never listen. They never listen because they're part of these pedo societies that think they think are gods, but now they find out that they aren't, and the power that they thought they had was just an illusion, and so they will suffer greatly. But so I just thought I would talk about those types of things, and that not everything is inherently good, not everything is inherently bad. This realm is based on duality, and I'll give you many examples, just the same as up. What goes up must come down, what goes in must go out. You know what I mean? Wax on, wax fucking off. It's all the same principles, right? It's all about balance. It's not this mystical fucking occultic knowledge that's hidden from us all. It's in everyday things that you do. You go in a door, you go out a door. You open a door, you close a door. It's as simple as fucking that. Balance. Open a window, close a window. Wet the floor, dry the floor. Wash the floor, dry the floor. Everything in its place, everything has balance. It can't be too much of the other. You know what I mean? There has to be balance. Like how Darth Vader eventually brought balance to the Force by picking up the Emperor and chucking him over the fucking precipice in the Death Star. Took a while. It took fucking 6 fucking movies of Star Wars to get there, with with the help of his actual son, his estranged son. That made him see sense when the Emperor was trying to zap them to death with Force fucking lightning. You know what I mean? But it's all about balance. And you can't have one without the other. And if you think that's not the case, then you need to just re-educate yourself respectfully. Because I'm not here to insult or be rude. You know what I mean? I know people have been conditioned to believe a certain way. But no, the Bible is not the be and end all, be all, end all, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just a system of control to keep you under the thumb. You can seek guidance from the Bible. I'm not saying do not read it, but don't be just too bamboozled by it, because it's still a part of the Matrix. It's still a Freemasonic creation. They were the people who translated it from Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek, and presented it to us, especially the King James Bible. And I'll just put in a few clips of the information that I've gathered and pepper it throughout this recording for you to sit and watch and absorb. But no, not everything is inherently bad. Not everything is inherently satanic. Just remember, you can use the Bible for witchcraft and casting spells on people, binding spells, deity spells, crown chakra spells to fuck with your mental. Do you know what I mean? Anything can be used for good or bad purposes. The fact that you think that is not correct means you've still got a lot to learn when it comes to spirituality. Because I'll put it this way: the Most High is not religious. You're religious, right? The Most High didn't create religion. Man created religion, right? You don't need to be a Christian to have good moralistic values or virtues or integrity. You know what I mean? It's not exclusively pertaining to Christianity. A good person is a good person no matter what religion he ascribes to, because not everything is inherently bad and not everything is inherently good. right? But you just have to have discernment, spiritual discernment. You've just got to know how to separate the wheat from the chaff, right? So on that bombshell, I think I'll leave it there, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later.